Welcome, everyone. My name is Patrick Fodell, and I'm with the Watsonville Law Center. I am their Outreach and Education Coordinator, along with their AmeriCorps Vista. As part of my jobs at the Law Center, I also facilitate the Watsonville Community Connections Collaborative. For those of you who are unfamiliar, it is a collaborative in the Pajaro Valley, based in Watsonville, with nonprofit, educational, and governmental organizations whose goal is to increase networks between organizations in the Pajaro Valley, as well as create sustainable quality of life change in here. As part of that, a couple of years ago, due to our networking and meetings, we realized that there is a growing Indigenous population here in the Pajaro Valley. And in order to address the needs of this very specific population, we had focus groups with them a couple of years back. Part of those focus groups, what came of those focus groups was a desire from that community to establish community meetings. These community meetings occur now on a monthly basis, the fourth Friday of every month, and if you need more information, please come see me afterward. And are a way for community members to access services in the area, since many of them are unaware of the services in the area and how to properly access them. The meetings are in Spanish and are translated into Mixteco, the language that we see predominantly here in the area. This is also a part of the Oaxacan Action Group. This is what the Oaxacan Action Group has established, which is an action group under the WCCC. And I would like to take a minute to thank my fellow participants for standing over there, Sister Sandra, Rosemary Hernandez, Rosa Hernandez, Amy Mascareñas, and Michelle Decker, and Gabriela Lopez, who have all spent countless hours helping with these community meetings. In addition to community meetings, the action group also realized that there is a need for service providers to be educated about this specific population, how to be able to assist them better, and understand the cultural needs and the cultural differences, since this particular population is different from the majority of the population that our service providers in this area address on a regular basis. Which is why we created this today. This has been several years in the making, and it was actually echoed last year when the Centro Binacional came to Watsonville in order to meet with service providers in the area, and what the service providers said they wanted the most was this training. So we are extremely happy to bring this training to you all today. And again, due to the extremely high turnout, I know that the service providers in the area are indeed invested in assisting this population and learning more about it. So I'm extremely happy that you all are here today. I would also like to thank the City of Watsonville for co-sponsoring this event with us, and also for the Centro Binacional para el Desarrollo Indígena Oaxaqueño, which I have been practicing all week long how to say. Let me tell you. That rolls off the tongue nicely, I know. Look at me go. And Leoncio for coming all the way from Fresno this morning. So let's give him a hand, and yes, thank you. I would just like to say that I am extremely, again, gracious for your support, and I hope that everyone learned something here today, and that we walk away hopefully with some ways in which our organizations can address the needs of this population. Obviously, due to limited resources and budget cuts in the area, it can seem like a very big deal in order to address an even more specific population or another population in this community. But I believe that there are ways in our organization, things that we can do, simple changes that we can make, and pooling of our resources and networking, so we can address the needs of this population better. And I hope that later on during our breakout groups that we are able to discuss ways in which we can do that.
Good morning, everyone. It's a real pleasure for me to be here today with all of you. I have had the opportunity to learn from Leoncio and Centro Binacional for many years now, when they first began bringing their presentations and their teaching to us about their community. Today is a really rare opportunity for all of us to learn about people who are our neighbors, people who have come to our community and have brought a very rich history and amazing culture. And to me, what I've learned the most from them has been their deep sense of community. And I think that is something that enriches our neighborhoods, enriches our life personally, and enriches our communities and our opportunities to work better as agencies and as community partners. So I just hope you understand what a great opportunity and what a rare privilege this is to be able to learn more about this community.
Good morning, everybody. I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you for hosting this great event. I wasn't expecting to see so many faces, but I'm really excited and happy to be here. So I'm going to start the presentation, and again, I think logistics are covered. So let me just start by introducing again myself as Saraid Martinez. I'm a community worker at Centro Binacional. And right now the presentation is going to be break down in 3 sections. It's going to be talking a little bit more about the history of the indigenous communities. Then it's going to go ahead and go back to, it's kind of like, we're going to study the history in Oaxaca, then we're coming back here and kind of see the migration and also how to work with indigenous communities. So again, what is Centro Binacional? So we're a nonprofit organization that was funded on 1993 for our sister organization, El Frente Indígena de Organizaciones Binacionales. We have a board of directors which govern the organization, and there are 10 members on that. And our mission for Centro Binacional is to implement programs that drive the civic participation, social, economic, and cultural development of indigenous communities. Our grand emphasis started, especially in Fresno, was on indigenous communities from the state of Oaxaca, but we also find that, especially in Fresno, we have a big population of indigenous communities from Guerrero, so a lot of our services are expanding to this community, which are really, they share our language for one section of the state. So where our office is located, we have, as I said, our main office is located in Fresno, but we also have a different small offices. Again, because we are a nonprofit, we really look for donation, foundation money, so we kind of struggle to keep some of them open. But we have one in LA, one in Santa Maria, one in Greenfield, and then we're currently trying to add, it's going to be at another one in Pajaro area. And I think the phone number is there, and the contact person for that will be Angelica Isidro. And she's, if you guys want to meet her, she's in the back with the books, so she's going to be in our Pajaro office. And again, this is for the community, to assist the community, and also if you guys have any questions regarding the culture, the language translated, she will be available for that too. Did everybody know where Oaxaca was before seeing this map? Yeah? Everybody kind of have an idea? Because a lot of people can't really relate where the state is, and you know, in Mexico, it's so just to imagine how difficult it is to migrate from that part of Mexico. It's not like any migration from the north, but it's even more difficult, more obstacles, and it really takes a lot of necessities to migrate so far. So the dark part is the state of Oaxaca. And again, what is our history? How is that we found a really diverse population in the southern states that in the north, and how is that we still preserve and have our cultural language. In Oaxaca, there's 16 different ethnicities or different type of communities. And again, this is not, this is people that share completely different language and culture. And we're going to go ahead and break it down later on, but there's 16 different. So just picture yourself with 16 different communities where sometimes you can't even understand because of the language difference. The social political organization, how it's divided in the state before the Spanish conquest. And this again going before the cities, states were governed by royal lineages, and they have a hierarchical society structure. There's also a lot of people have this misconception that because if you're indigenous, you're savage, that's what they think, right? But no, we were really advanced in literature and cosmology and math, and something that really identifies indigenous communities are a strong relationship with nature and how we relate to Mother Earth. It's not just, we take care of it, and that's why we're really good at in agriculture, and that's who we are, you know. So this is our relationship with nature, and that's something that a lot of people can, I mean, they see it because we work in the fields, but you know, it's a relationship with what we do and how history has given us that. Still practice until today traditional medicine, especially in the indigenous communities, the mestizo communities too, in the rest of Oaxaca. This stigma and discrimination against indigenous communities, not only here, but also really strong in within our states, and Oaxaca and Mexico and the rest of the states. You find this really negative terms and really like discriminate against indigenous communities because we look different, because we're not like the northern part of Mexico, because we dress different, the skin color, our size, everything. And again, we have a history. A lot of the states, different sections from the state of Oaxaca, including one of the Zapotec communities, was never really conquered by the Spaniards. So that's what we find is really a strong sense of heritage goes back. This is something that I really struggle, and I personally, it really gets me offended when people call us Oaxaquitas, and that's one of the things that, for way of discrimination. So it's not Oaxaquitas, it's somos oaxaqueños, so we are Oaxaqueños. And just something that I really stress. I mean, maybe some people may think, oh, you know, it's de cariño because it's nice, but we don't see it like that, and we don't want to be called Oaxaquitas. And this is, you guys saw the map earlier of the state of Oaxaca, but this is just more like the ethnic distribution within the state. And again, I mentioned that 16 different ethnic groups, different 16 languages, and this is kind of like the division. As you can see, the major groups are the Zapotecs and the Mixtecs. I think here in Pájaro you find a lot of like Mixteco communities. In Fresno you find also a lot of Mixtecs, but also we find a recent migration of a large population of Zapotecs and also Triquis. And in Greenfield we have a large population of Triquis, LA, Zapotecs. So it's kind of like how we have a distribution in the state of Oaxaca. These are the languages, and the red ones are the most predominant in the state of Oaxaca, which is Spanish is one of them, also Zapotec, Mixteco, and Triqui. Those are the main languages that people still speak and retain in the state of Oaxaca. But you can see there's also Chatino, Serrano, Mije, so there's the 16 different that they have. This goes back to our language and how people sometimes think that because we don't have a written alphabet, is that we don't really, we don't have a way to communicate or to express our history. But we do have the codex, or los códigos mixtecos, which only one codex remain with us, in the state. All of them are somewhere else. We do have this to tell our story, but also like oral communication and through words, it's how we preserve our history and how we communicate better. So it's not written, but more oral, traditional, how do we communicate. These are some of the millenary cultural traditions that we practice in the state, but also bring in, now with migration, we bring all this culture with us. So these are some of the things that you guys can see that we practice in Oaxaca, but we also start practicing here in the United States. And again, this is kind of, the presentation is kind of get a taste of how different our culture is, and also, you know, to have that cultural sensibility. We don't advocate for like the providers to really accept this, but just to respect and to be open to know about like who we are and what's our background. Traditional culture that we practice is el tequio. One of the presenters, I forgot who it was, but mentioned that we have a really strong sense of community. And that's true, and this is one of them. El tequio is when it's a word on Nahuatl that means collective work. So in our communities, every time we want to clean a street, clean the schools, we call for a tequio and everybody goes and help out. So we still have this here, and we still see this sense of community, of supporting each other. And this is predominant on males. Like after you are 18, you are required to give your tequio to your community. And you can see some pictures there. Before, it was offering as a ceremony to the gods to give thanks for the harvest. And we also have the Guelaguetza. The Guelaguetza, it's an event where, as we saw the 16 different ethnic groups, we also have this. Those are divided also within regions, and we have 8 different regions in the state of Oaxaca. And the Guelaguetza is that when you go and offer or share your type of culture, language, way of dress, and just to put it like a dance together. And that's where people present their culture, their way of dress, and their music. We have this event in the state of Oaxaca, and we also celebrated, Centro Binacional puts an event every last Sunday of September, and we celebrate it in Fresno every year. And I believe I see some flyers of the Guelaguetza now when I come visit my family, that they start having it in Salinas and here. And las fiestas patronales, there's also this was left after the conquest, but we celebrate, and this is more, we see more with Catholicism, and the main religion since the European conquest, and this got really embraced on us, and we do have the fiestas patronales. Every town has their saint, and they celebrate, and I believe we also have the celebrations here. As I said, as migration, we bring our culture with us, and you see these fiestas or community events where community celebrates the saints from their towns. Another one really strong in our communities, which has a lot of meaning, is the Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead. This is a festivity to celebrate or commemorate our loved ones who passed away. And we built altars with food, flour, special tortillas, called totopos, but also it's like kind of like a way to still have that connection with the people that pass away. We offer the favorite food, whatever the person like, we put it on the altar. So this is kind of just this celebration, we still have it here. This is something that we do over in our towns, is to go, and this day is to celebrate at the cemetery, and we go and have a family, everybody there around, and it's just a really, really nice event that we have in our towns. And we still do this here in the United States. We have flowers, and we do the same, try to do the same altars. Leoncio is going to be presenting a little bit about the traditional medicine, and also our socio-economic demographics in the state of Oaxaca.
Shindavini katno sarait. Shindavini katno jiquindo ne kisando kivichi. Tatunju ne kisanji ro kanji in ubitun sindo kusi inja ni runenda ro sashi kwa ajando kisa. Ja kan in ubitun sindo tumi. Tana kundai ni don jiquiando na kan inga ton saaka nya canto con inglés sin ya ton ka onda se ko kundani sitao. ¿Va a haber intérprete? Naka kwet tu kisin to sa Shinta vini katnondo nye kisanto kivichi kusin jaini nya kan iubitu usindo. How many speak Spanish? Oh, wow. ¿Lo podemos hacer en español entonces? ¿Alguien que habla inglés acá? ¿Solamente inglés? I will have to struggle with my English then. Okay. Just to give you, especially those who speak Spanish, a lot of people assume that since we are Mexicans, we should speak Spanish. And when they say about indigenous communities, they think that we speak a dialect of Spanish. And those of you who listen, obviously there's no word in Spanish in what I just say. So basically, it is a language that we speak. It's not a dialect. So again, even among ourselves, we say, oh, I speak an indigenous dialect. That's like putting down our language. And if you want to learn, obviously, many of us might not understand what is the difference between dialect and language. Between the Mixteco language that I speak, Isidra, Angelica, who is sitting over there, and I know Natalia is sitting over there, we can communicate with each other. We can. But we clearly see a difference of the dialect that we speak. So, the difference between the same language, that is the dialect. We really enjoy coming back this area. I always say that. Rosa Hernandez, Doctora Rosa Hernandez, I presented with her group, and we have been in Morgan Hill, Salinas, Greenfield, and we always enjoy coming here to talk about our community. And thank you very much for attending, and hopefully the information that we bring to you might be helpful in your effort in trying to provide services, quality service for our community, who at the end are human beings, are as any of us, and deserve the respect and quality service. Continuing with the presentation, traditional medicine. I'm not an expert on traditional medicine. I'm just going to tell you what I see in my community. And to let you know that even though we migrate, and in our own community, traditional medicine is not an option. We approach the traditional healing way to maintain our health. Obviously, with the migration, the change of diet, now we're starting to hear about other diseases that in our community we never hear of. Diabetes, tuberculosis, AIDS. Now we are trying to learn about the modern medicine and try to combine it with what we know in the modern medicine or the Western medicine. In our community, there's not much health services as far as Western medicine. There might be small clinics with somebody that we call a doctora, even though they're like nurses and students who are residents, and they send us to our community to have research on us or tests on us so they can learn, and then they go back to get their doctorate degree. So again, we believe that the nature, and we, as Sarai mentioned, we have a very strong relationship with nature. Every time that we go to do our farm work, we offer a ceremony. There's time during the year that we particularly offer the ceremony for the God of rain, because we only depend on rain to grow our food. We understand that sickness can come from very strong emotions. That's what we know of. The sickness of anger. When somebody gets very angry and the next day they're feeling something different, and they associate that with being angry, because we like to fight a lot. And we also believe that external agents, either natural or supernatural, might get into our body and break the balance, because we believe that there's a balance between hot, cold, and when that balance breaks down, we get sick. We believe in evil spirits. We believe that every time we go to the highest mountains in our community, if we do something unrespectful there, for an accident happened. We fall down, we cut ourselves, and our soul stay there. After a week, 2 weeks, we get sick. And then we go back to the traditional healer to find out what's wrong with us. And this is another difference, that we spend a lot of time talking with the traditional healer, trying to find out what is the cause of the illness. Not like they do it here, they're trying to find out what is the symptoms. And again, it is a shot for us to just wait in the waiting area for hours and then spend 5 minutes with the doctor. And not even have a chance to, get that talking. That's what we used to. People say that we are shy, that we don't talk that much. It's not true. When we, in our own community, we talk a lot. The illnesses, the ethno-specific illnesses that we are used, that we hear about is empacho, caída de mollera, mal de ojo, all this that in our community, it really happens. And it has worked for us for thousands of years. So that's why we continue believing and using the traditional medicine, the traditional healer, the use of herbs, different herbs, to maintain our health. Before, in our community, traditional healers will not be considered like the protector of our community. A lot of people, and again, going back to discrimination, prejudice, that they judge these people to be witch, or that they do all the evil things. That in reality, it is very different for us, because they maintain not only the health of the families, but they are seen as protector of our villages. And now they are recognized legally in the state of Oaxaca to practice as any other Western medicine doctors. And now some of the controversies in our communities being present in the United States. Marriage. In our community, it is very normal for us to get married at a very young age. We don't go out that much. We don't have opportunity for higher education. After 6th grade of school, what is there to do? What is there left to do? Get married, have families, and work to support our families. So again, if a 13, 14 years old girl is being asked to get married to a guy, probably older, in the eye of the parents, that's responsible, because men should be mature enough to know how to support the family. Because in our concepts, we don't have a word for divorce. There's no concept of divorce for us, or girlfriend, boyfriend. We don't even get a chance to do that. Or to say, oh, let's live together for 3-4 years, and if we don't work out, we just split. That doesn't happen in our community. Girls are very protected. Parents protect the girls especially. They're a value for the family. And even though they're in our village and they are single, they always had to be accompanied by some other family member if they go somewhere, if they get out of the house. Obviously, the immigration is changing that, but that's how we live. Now, so how do, you might think, if you don't have that relationship of boyfriend, girlfriend, how do you get to know a person and get to marry and already know that you have to spend the rest of your life with the person? Obviously, we just have to do it. If I get to like a girl, I'm not allowed to go talk to her, to get to know her, or to take her out and then see if she's a fit for me. The same way, the other way around. So if a couple wants to get married, the parents of the man has to find an ambassador, a person who is well respected in the community, to go ask formally the hand of the girl. And formally, they have to get and plan right away a wedding, not even a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. And when we're talking about the wedding, and this is very controversial. I don't know if you guys heard in this part in Greenfield where people were telling all this, that a man sold her daughter for cases of beers. We like to drink. Every time that we have fiesta, celebration, if there's no food, that's fine, but there shouldn't be beer or alcohol. And that's why we had to sell our daughters for beers. And of course, that is not true. I don't know if you have here, if you guys have heard about the concept of dowry. Dowry, is that how you say it? Yeah. In our community, that's our practice. Because again, we value the women. And parents like to protect their daughters. And if they want to get married, obviously it has to be with a guy or that somehow is respect the parents good enough. And that's how we see it. Go and ask for the hand of the girl. And as a return for that, obviously they are responsible for making the expenses, because we want to invite all family members and even the whole village to have a social gathering and be a witness that this girl is getting married. So the men are responsible for making the expenses. Obviously, this is what we do in our village, because we have the place. Nobody talks about what is the time to stop the music, or if you have to drink and drive. All these things obviously change us when we migrate, especially here with the tough laws, and people just live in different realities. So they have to go and try to find ways to do the same thing. So this is our reality. Again, another very controversial, or people get to ask us very often, why don't women carry, ¿por qué las mujeres no agarran sus niños cuando apenas nacen? Why they don't hold the baby, that newborn, when they just are born, and they don't show affection for the children? We don't do that. Obviously, affection we show it in a different way, making sure that our loved ones have enough food to eat, at least have something to wear and not be naked. Or we only respond, probably, we haven't get to that level where we have to talk to our children, all these lessons about life and all the affectionate words, the kind words that we always see on TV and all that. We really live in a very different reality where affection is obviously shown in a different way. But we are human beings. We like our children. We love them. And we like to have a lot of family members. But it's a different show of love. And to the point that parents in our community, they overprotect the newborns. If we are doing that in this country, it's a very suspicious about parents enrollando bien a sus hijos y no quieren que el otro los vean. That we don't want to show our newborn to strangers, even though they are from our village. If they're immediate family members, oh yeah, you can see them when they are at least 15 days old. Before that, no, nobody is allowed to see them. And now, people are suspicious that we are abusing our newborns because we don't want to show them to anybody. We don't want them to cry, especially if they are newborns, because the evil spirit might hear their voice and will take their spirit. Differences about the social values that we have. What I'm doing right now, looking at you directly in the eye, in our community might be not respecting you, which here is the other way around, I have learned. And in our community, if you see videos or you talk to people, obviously some of you who have contacts with our community members, looking at the eye is very uncomfortable for us. And we say that it is a form of respect, but I assume that with the history of what we have faced for the last over 500 years, they always tell us not to look at their face when we talk to them. That we are there to do the chores, the work, the hard work, and when they are telling us what to do, not to look straight at their face, to respect authorities. We always hear that. So you will see people not looking at your face directly, at your eye, but not necessarily that they are disrespecting you, or that they don't listen to what you say, or that they don't pay attention. They might do that, but obviously it's not because of your presence there or the way that you talk to them. Is because of language problem. They don't understand you. They might say yes, 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 yes to everything. What you say, at the end, they don't understand anything, and what they want is to get rid of you because they don't understand. We don't go straight to the point. That is very hard for us because we get used to when we go to a traditional healer or go to ask for the hand of a girl or have some other events. What we used to is to start with a speech. If that's how you do it in English, if that's how you call it in English, how do you say it even in Spanish? I don't. Discurso. In Mixteco is, I mean, even myself, I speak Mixteco. I say that it is my first language. The discurso part of the culture, I haven't get there to really know it because there are words that we might say when we're talking about in English legal terms or medical terms, they even are that different from the regular Mixtec. So we start with the discurso, in the speech, and then probably at the end, by the way, I need to ask you for this. That's what we used to. We don't get there and, oh yeah, we have an appointment at 10 o'clock and, oh, hurry because I need to get and see other people. So again, how do we change that? Not only use what we learn at school or the way the culture in this country is set up and other people try to adapt them to the culture here or take into account what is the difference. Slowly educate them during the process, but obviously be respectful of their culture. Sense of community, strong sense of community. We, again, depend on each other, family members, even the village. We use the concept of tequio, of Gelayexa. When there's something happening in a family, we are always there, automatically to respond based on the occasion. If there's something to celebrate, we go and celebrate with the family. If somebody dies and we need to support them, we are there. And we always take something with us. We don't go with empty hands. Trust is very important for us. And people might or act some way because they don't trust you. Even in our own community, our agency get to work with several communities that when they hear about us, they don't trust us. Because the belief and our experience back home, it has been that those who work in the agency, government entities, they rob us. They're very corruptos. So they don't trust us. And if we are estranged, obviously it's going to be a hard work to establish that trust, first of all. But once the trust is established, make sure that they will invite you to come to their homes. So how many indigenous people are left, we will say? We always get to ask that, we always get that question. Well, the official numbers are that there are over 3.5 million indigenous people in the state of Oaxaca. Most of them are women, young age. Over 1 million speak one of the indigenous language. And that's the official number from the government of Oaxaca. The majority are Zapotecos, as Sarai mentioned, and then the Mixtecos. Our community are very in poverty, and that's one of the reasons that we migrate. Education is terrible in our community. Illiteracy rate, especially among women, is very high. And women get the chance to get out and get involved with other people, especially Spanish speakers, so they are the most vulnerable in our community. Health. Again, I mentioned a little bit about health, and now probably in our community, the diseases that or the illnesses that we have heard about before are those related to poverty, malnutrition, and basic sanitary conditions. But the migration is changing our health. A little bit about the migration, and I'll let Sarai go real fast with migration.
Migration is something that, again, has always existed in our communities, and we see this because of discrimination, because of marginalization. Communities always had the necessity of migrating, but always to the north, and this is always happening to the Veracruz, Distrito Federal, Sinaloa, Baja California. Those are the states within Mexico that indigenous communities always migrate. It was the male coming back just seasonal, again, in the fields. But on the 80s, we see migration started to the United States, and the states where communities are settled now, it's California, Washington State, Oregon, Florida, New York, and North Carolina. We find different groups that migrate in these specific areas. And just migration to the U.S., as I said, in the 1670s, we see the first families or people migrating to the United States because of the Bracero program. My grandfather is one of them too. And then again, you see only the male migrating to the United States, but always coming back seasonally, having that migration pattern. And in the 80s, we see massive migration again. In around 86, once we have the amnesty and more people being able to apply for the residence card, and you see again this people having papers and migrating. And then it wasn't until the 94, with the passage of the NAFTA, North American Free Trade Agreement that we see a bigger migration pattern from these indigenous communities because they cannot compete with different corporations or industries that, because again, what do? We harvest corn and different agriculture products, and again, we cannot compete with these big industries, corporations. So we are pushed out of the land, and we don't have other option than just to migrate. And because of immigration laws, it's even more difficult to go back and forth seasonally. So there's no other option than to bring our families. What do you want, to be separated from your family, or to struggle every year, and travel is expensive, so people tend to just bring their families and stay here. There was also Centro Binacional really emphasized on doing the census and having indigenous communities counted on the census because we are here. And this is one of our projects. And it was in the 90s, if you see that the census registered only one mixed family in the 90s. And in 91, the California Institute for Rural Studies conducted a study, and they found how many indigenous families live in California. 50,000, right? So then you see this contrast of like on one family, 1 year later, there were more than one up here. So, and then also in the recent study for Indigenous Farm Worker Study, and it's also the website there, it has really good information of where these groups are. And it's a website, again, we migrate in networks, what Rick Mind presented, like networks. So whenever you find one person from that community, there's not only one. There's the village migrate within their communities because, again, our great sense of community. So you find more than one person from one village in that area. You see the Mexican farm workers over time, and also the indigenous, and how it has increased. And again, this is the whole study is on the website. It's a really neat website you find, and it's interactive, and you can go and find what the networks and what type of population or group it's on your area. The portion of indigenous farm workers in California, which are located in major regions, Central Coast is the highest one. Then we find a big group in the Central Valley, San Diego, and North Coast. And again, the conditions of indigenous migrants in the U.S., as we mentioned before, we face a lot of discrimination, and especially if you don't speak the language. If you work in the fields, people may take advantage of you because, again, this is not our culture. We feel scared, and we don't speak up. So there's a lot of discrimination against indigenous communities because they don't speak the language. Even within a Mexican community, and they perform the most physical, demanded, and less rewarded jobs. And again, this is something that every farm worker faces, but we are exposed to pesticides and low working hours. So all these things that you can find, especially in this area in the Central Valley, that people are exposed to all this dangerous work. And the living conditions, people always get surprised or admire when they see these pictures because they don't think this could exist here, but people, indigenous communities especially, live in completely really bad living conditions. So, and you find more than 2 families living in bedroom apartments. So this is just kind of pictures. People that can't really, afford to pay a house, so they recently arrived here. You find people living in caves or around rivers. We have different these communities in Fresno, and I'm sure here too. So just kind of some of the pictures, living conditions. Again, the language is very strong. Because if you go to the doctor, if you need a service, you prefer to wait because you don't feel comfortable going to different places because of the language barrier. Not only because we don't speak Spanish, but because we just English or Spanish. Some communities only, as you saw, they're monolingual. They speak their language, and the lack of information regarding the political, social, and health system. Again, because of culture-wise, and in our communities, all the systems are different. When we get here, to navigate the system it's difficult for this type of communities, and especially because of all the different background that we saw, like literacy rates. And if you go to an office, you always get expected to even give the material in Spanish and be like, this is the information you need to know. But if that person does not know how to read, then it's going to be difficult. And again, literacy rates is at third-year grade level, so a lot of the suggestions that we do is to change our material and be more like an oral thing. And when a person nods their head, it's usually not because they really understand what you're saying. So it's always asking, do you understand, and what did I just explain? Always ask the question, not just like get a nod of the head as they understand things. So just the clash of the system and the traditional beliefs. And then again, our immigration status, which is not only applicable for our communities, but for different type of communities. And again, the violation of our basic labor rights. And yet, these are some of the current projects that we have at Centro Binacional, which are the Oaxacan Indigenous Interpreters Project, really emphasize on having people that a lot of the community members always talk about taking their kids with them when they go to the doctor, and the doctors or the nurses always ask, you know, if they don't understand, kind of ask the children, their kids, can you help me with this? But in reality, this is, I mean, why can you, this is not a task that should be given to the kids. So it's really emphasized for us to have at least people that are trained, that they know the terminology and can really help interpret. And the state of California does not have certification for this, because I don't think nobody there speaks Mixteco, so it's really up to us to kind of help with that transition of the system. And we also have a project called Moschini, which is an Indigenous leader advocacy program, and Moschini Navali, which is Los Niños Primero. That program is on Greenfield, and it helps more with like helping mothers with their kids from until 5 years old, right? The kids. Construyendo Vecindarios Saludables, it's an initiative that we have in Fresno, really engaging communities to be involved in city planning, and people in Fresno are living in these places where are being really, you know, marginalized again, and just kind of getting community involved. And the Guelaguetza is another project. The first question that I'm going to start is, it says, ¿cuál es la mejor forma o la mejor hora para llamar a las familias para darles información sobre sus hijos? So when is the best time to call a family in order to give them information? And as we know, there are a lot of farm workers, so communities work in the field, so the best time that I will say it's in the afternoon, late, like 6, 7, that would be the best time, or in the weekends. But Sundays, like in the afternoon, because a lot of people go to church or go buy groceries, so it's around that time. It's another question is, how do I ask like the community if they know how to read without they get offended? So it's just simply ask, and you know, ask in the most kind way, like, ¿sabe usted leer? O ¿puede usted leer o escribir? So it's just ask them directly. I know one of the services that we provide at Centro Binacional is helping community members to fill out paperwork, and the question is if the people that help them are trained to do it. And one of the things that Centro does is that a lot of our community, or the people that work in the office, they're from the community. So it's just for example, in the Fresno office, there's only me and another person that has an actual degree. A lot of them are just community, which are the most experienced, right? Because we're working with community, we want them to be comfortable and to feel that this is a place where they can come in, and the same here. Because of that, a lot of them, we train them to do this specific job, so yes, they are trained. Which Mixteco language is more common? It all depends where you're located and what type of community it's in the area. As I said, we migrate in networks. So if there's more from certain communities, it's going to be more Mixteco Alto, Mixteco Bajo. It all depends on what type of community settle in the area. And also, if you're looking for a translator, either Mixteco, Zapoteco, usually, again, this is we have the project, the Indigenous Translator Project, but we don't have specific contact persons in an area, so people that could be available. But if you call the office, either Greenfield, have Triquis, we can also do it by phone. And in LA, we have a big population in Zapoteco, so even by phone, we can assist you if it's not in person. Do you feel discrimination between the 16 different groups in Oaxaca? And from my experience, I will say that there's always this, it's kind of like a power struggle, the who is, but you find that anywhere. So even within the Mixtecos community, you find this. And it's something that is really unfortunate, but it can definitely also be, it could change, you know, and we see that in Fresno that we really emphasize and try to bring everybody to the table. So since the U.S. law prohibits marriage between the age of 18, how do we how to respond to this, and is it a cultural conflict with the parents? And again, yes, but because of migration, teen change, the role of the family has changed over the years. And before, you see that the woman will stay in the house and wouldn't really go to work, but here things are completely different. And also in Mexico, because of migration has moved a lot of the males to the United States, women in our towns are taking leadership roles, and they'll go to work, and they're the ones in charge of the farms or like labor. So things are changing, and we definitely see this here. So within marriage, it's also another thing that is changing. It's not 18, and so that's what I can say from my experience. Can you tell us about how a family decides to leave their community and migrate? How do the family decide? I actually think that we don't have a choice and we don't decide. We're forced to live, because if we want to survive and provide food to our children. So it's definitely something that, I mean, who wants to leave the place where they're born, with their family, with their land, with their house? I think it's really sad for somebody just to decide to leave without being forced or pushed away from their land. So I say that from my experience, and I'm sure it applies not only to indigenous communities, but to other communities, not only from Mexico. The people plan to stay in the United States as they get older. A lot of our dreams, and certainly one of mine too, is to go back to my town. Yes, we're here, but we also see the strong, again, connection with where we're from, and we definitely want to go back. If that happens, if that's a reality, I don't know. My grandparent was here. He left. He has 2 years that he went back to my town. So I mean, it happened in my family. I don't know if it happens in the rest of the family, but I think a lot of us come with a mentality of like, we want to improve our family, but we want to go back to our land. So again, you know, just the tensions between indigenous groups, and then how just the racism and that exists not only within our mestizo communities, within the community, indigenous communities also here. So it's just touches on that. So those are my questions, and I'm gonna let Leoncio answer some of the ones he had.
One of the questions says, what are traditional views and practice regarding mental health? Mental health is not, we have not found a way to deal with it. And to the point that we never talk about it. So in our villages, probably the way to deal with mental health is through traditional way. We talk a lot, especially with the elders, with the traditional healers. But I mean, to call it mental health, we basically make fun of it. That to be mentally ill is, I mean, to be crazy. So there's no way straight to answer this question. Or disability in our community, it is very normal that we take into account people who is disabled as part of the community. Not necessarily to put them in a special place or site because they're disabled. They are considered as individual who is well. Usted mencionó que todavía celebra el Dios de la lluvia. ¿Cómo se llama esta celebración y cómo se llama el Dios? El Dios de la lluvia se llama así, el Dios de la lluvia, Savi, the God of rain. And there's 2 dates during the year that we go to the highest mountains, where we already know that that's a sacred place, that's the place of the God of rain, and offer ceremony, pray, mixing the pray with in Mixteco is very interesting hearing the pray that they kind of mix it with the religion, the Catholicism religion. What are the expectations of young children in the U.S. in terms of school, marriage? What is the best way for us to providers working with teenagers to empower them? Yes, obviously we have learned that children need to go to school when they are in this country. And we have learned that through the hard way because the migration that happened in Mexico, our children will be able to work with us and not necessarily go to receive an education. Here, parents started to doing the same thing, but obviously they found it the hard way that it is not allowed to take children to work. About empowering youth, it's been a hard issue for us to get involved with youth. Until recently, when we incorporated Saraid and other young people in our agency that kind of taking the steps to invite young people to at least get together, talk about the issues that they confront, and find solutions. Obviously, we always offer our support. Whatever they find they need to work on, we are there to support. But this is a very recent effort from our part. What we have done throughout the years that we have been working is with the adults, basically, and mostly. Now we are just incorporating youth. Language is a big problem, as I mentioned, and what we recommend is that at least you take into consideration that, not that you will try to speak slowly to our community members and make them understand. I mean, it's very hard, and now with this crisis, nobody wants to spend additional funding on interpreters. And probably that's where we come in. Probably we don't have that much resource either to offer all the services if we get a request. But that's how we work together. For instance, in this, in Waxomil, at least Pájaro, we got the funding from First Five. That's exclusively working with parents 0 to 5. Obviously, the needs of our community is not only that, but at least we have that part of it. And those of you who are doing similar work, use the support of Angelica. But I'm telling you, don't overburn her, please. She is there to at least, because we have some objectives also to accomplish, and she's not there to just respond whatever you say or whatever you call her on. She is there to at least cover some part of the work, but not everything, because we have our own objectives. Since being in America, do you see the name of education? Do you see the value of education instead of early marriage? Yes. And obviously, again, we're slowly changing that because the opportunity that exists here. For instance, Saraid, she has 2 degrees. She graduated from a university. Other people that have the same opportunity, obviously, it's hard. It's very hard because we don't have a role model in our family, not even a graduate, to support us during the process. But it's obviously we have learned that people, at least young people, need to go to school until they're 18 years old. After that, if they want to continue, that's fine. If they want to get out of high school and want to start working, we there's nothing to do about that. What are Oaxacan population doing to acculturate to the U.S.? Well, all the services that we provide is to respond the needs of our community. But along the way is also to educate them about the system of this country, how to navigate. We encourage them to learn, not to stay at home and always concentrate on doing the work that they are already doing, farm work, but to learn a little bit about other opportunities that are out there, to learn, to get involved in the process of education of their children, the health of their children. But this is a slow process. I understand that gay men in Oaxaca play a very important role in the Oaxaca society. What can you tell us about the role of gay men play in society? This is also a very sensitive for us, and probably is not talked about in our community. And I'm talking about certain part of Oaxaca. In another part, they're very open about it. But for the Mixteco community, at least for people in my village, they don't want to talk about it. How does the community or the family in the indigenous community view a young woman or girl who has had sexual relations or raped by someone outside of the community and the young woman gets pregnant? Well, it's hard because this is something that we're not used to. I mentioned that girls, young women receive a lot of protection in our community purposely to avoid this type of situation. Now, obviously, by living outside of our community, we lose the community, and parents lose the control over their children. And probably there are some young women, young men who have migrated without their immediate family members. So they are staying with extended family members, and they don't have that much control on them. So they can do whatever they want to. They feel free. And being young, obviously, that's what you're looking for, to be free. So again, a lot has changed in our community with migration. For instance, we get to learn that by disciplining our children with nalgadas, we hear that's child abuse. And there are some parents that find the hard way that it is true. They end up in the jail for doing that. In our community, that's the way that we have learned to survive, to raise our children, and that's the only way that we have seen maintaining the respect in our community. Now, we don't have that respect, the same respect from young children to the parents, to the elder. They are in control of their parents because they get educated, they learn that they receive overprotection, and if their parents raise their voice to them or try to discipline them as the way before, obviously they threaten them by calling the police, CPS, and parents now they don't know what to do. So they just let their children alone. Now the children get involved into very, very negative behaviors. In gangs, the consumption of alcohol, but not only that, the consumption of drugs. While I was a young person, I drank. But now it's very surprising for me seeing kids to consume drugs. I never got to that point, and that's why for me and for the generation before me get surprised and they don't know how to handle that situations. At what age do you show your newborn? It depends. And obviously here, people just show their newborns because that is allowed here. In our community, they're very protective. They will allow newborn to be seen by immediate family members, at least if they're 15 days old. And then slowly, they get to seen by the villagers. And that depends on every family. How can we support a family here regarding the fact that girls here are expected to be independent and not get married until 18 years old? Education is basically what we tell parents. And there are young people that they don't know what education is. They just know that they need to go to school, but not really have a goal, what major to follow, and at least get a degree. We don't know the process. We don't know the support that is available for students. But obviously, if we get to know that, if we at least talk to parents, the support is available, even though they don't know how to read or write, that is the type of support that we need in our community. The process, how to get higher education. Because, one side we hear this, that there are different types of support, but the other side, we hear that we are not wanted here. And so we don't know what to do. If we follow an education, higher education, and then we get to go back to our community, what use can that do in our community where there's no way to practice any profession, but just go back to the field and work as farmers? And obviously, and that's the belief behind that. But obviously, we had a vision. Oh yes, we can go back to Mexico and use our profession in other large cities where there are opportunities. But that's something that we have not seen yet, and we don't know how it works. Are traditional tools available, or there are traditional cures that will be considered dangerous? What I have heard is that some practices that traditional healers use, and especially on kids, that leave marks on their body for a while, it hasn't turned out that it is dangerous, that stay forever, or that brings some type of secondary effect. It stays for a while, but the children get fine, they get well. So I have never seen any dangerous practice, or if they go to seek for cure and then they end up dying. I have never heard that. The Bracero program, it was during the 1940 to 1960, where the U.S. was at war, and they needed hands to do the work. That's when they invited people from Mexico to come to the United States, promising that 10%, deducting 10% from their check, and that 10% was to secure that they go back to where they where they came from. A lot of braceros never saw that funding. Until today, they're still fighting. Elder people, they're still fighting to get part of that money back. Are there children's songs, any recording we could get for our children? In Mixteco or in Indigenous language, no. We don't have any songs that I know of. At least we have videos, DVDs in Mixteco that we have produced or developed ourselves, about educating parents how to, not how to raise their kids, but they already know that, how they should practice in raising their kids in the United States. Those are available in our office in Greenfield, in Trique, and in Fresno we have a Mystic version that you can use, of course, if you give us $50. Obviously, we are human beings, and if you're talking about domestic violence, it exists within our community. And we don't talk about it. We don't let our authority to come intervene into family matters. And that's how we have our elders. That's how we have the in-laws, immediate family members, to get involved and try to resolve that situation in a couple if there's a cyst. So consumption of alcohol obviously contributes a lot to this. And we know that it is a negative behavior in our community. And now, if they want to continue doing that in the United States, obviously is another way that they find out that they should not doing it. But also women find out that they had a lot of protection and they take advantage of that to get rid of men. How is adoption viewed? Well, there's no adoption concept in our community. We never adopt kids and never give out our kids for adoption. We don't have that concept. So I don't know how to answer that question. What will be the best way to help a patient how to take medication if that patient can't read or speak Spanish? Yes, the use of interpreter or somebody who explains to them in their own language. Because if you talk about, oh, take this pill for asthma, or take this pill because you have tuberculosis. If they don't know the concept of asthma or tuberculosis, they won't know how taking those pills or medication will help them. If we explain to them in basic Mixteco or Zapoteco how that illness affects them, obviously that will help them.
A lot of communities, when they arrive here, their eating habit changed, not only because of work, because they have to migrate and don't have enough time to cook, but also because of the targeting that these specific communities have in their neighborhoods. I mean, you find a McDonald's every corner, a liquor store, so it's not only affecting their health, but also it's a systematic kind of oppression type of way.